Hey everyone, it is April 2015. I'm Rene Ritchie, and right now we're going to talk more Apple Watch try-ons, Apple Watch shipments, Apple Watch deliveries, and some more about the new MacBook and some other news. There is actually other news. This is the iMore Show. Joining me today, we have from the lovely Midwestern region of America, Ali Kazmuha. How are you, Ali?
I'm good.
I spent like 30 minutes at Chicago Airport. I feel your pain.
Yeah, O'Hare sucks. So.
It's bigger than my city, I think.
Yeah.
Also joining us from the pleasant, hopefully getting more pleasant, Cape Cod. How are you, Peter?
I am well, and yes, it was a gorgeous weekend. It's kind of miserable today, but yesterday and the day before definitely made up for it.
Yeah, it's raining here, and I've heard there might be more snow coming. So with that, I'm going to introduce Georgia Dow, the person for whom winter is coming. How are you, Georgia?
I'm wearing my Apple sweater. Look.
Nice. Awesome. You're in costume.
I'm all ready.
All right, so I believe Peter, had you done your Apple Watch try-on during the last podcast, or was it after that?
No. I was up in Boston last week for some technical stuff that Mac Tech was doing in town. So I snuck away during lunch on Wednesday and got my Apple Watch try-on. I was very happy.
How did it go?
It went phenomenally. I went to the Boylston Street store, which is Apple's flagship store in the city of Boston. It's a lovely, lovely store right across from the Prudential Center in Boston's Back Bay neighborhood, which is a really great place to hang out and shop and do everything. Anyway, so I walked in. I was greeted right at the door by somebody and taken over to a table. I got one-on-one concierge-style service. Where I was able to try on both the Apple Watch model that I have on pre-order specifically, my 42 millimeter space gray Sport with the black whatever the hell it is.
Polyelastomer? Something.
Right.
Floral.
I said that if my Apple Watch drag queen name would be Floor Roblastomer. Anyway, so I got to try that on, and I also got to try the Milanese band, and now I understand. I'm converted, guys. I believe. I'm a true believer. My theory on the Milanese band is that if Apple designed chainmail, that's what it would feel like on your body.
Yes, it's the Game of Thrones band.
It is. I want a belt made of that stuff. Oh, my God. Anyway, so, yeah, I'm definitely going to pick up the Milanese band as soon as they're in stock. What a gorgeous band. Oh, my goodness. But anyway, yeah, I got to try it on, and I got to play with the MacBook. And, you know, I have to tell you, all this nonsense about how that the launch is a dud and Angela Ahrens is a failure could not be further from my mind as I was in the Apple store. Because, look, going to Apple stores can be a really unpleasant experience. You know, it can be crowded, it can be smelly, you have to deal with other humans and their secretions and everything. It's gross. Being able to walk into an Apple store, try the Apple Watch.
Which stores are you going to, Peter?
Well, okay, my local quote unquote, which is an hour away actually from my house, is the Derby Street store in Hingham, Mass. Now that's a smaller store in one of these open-air lifestyle centers that have kind of replaced the traditional shopping mall. And it's a great store, and the people there are fantastic. I've known some of the geniuses who work at the Genius Bar for, like, years, and I generally have a really good experience in there, but I also know that it's incredibly crowded, and especially on launch days or when there are new products in there, people tend to get very aggressive, you know, wanting to see and touch and experience the new products. The Boylston Street store is a slightly different experience. The Boylston Street store has a ground floor lobby that's very open, and that's where they showcase the new products. And then all of the business stuff happens upstairs. That's where the Genius Bar is and so on. But still, during launch days and when new products are available, it can get very crowded in there. So being able to make an appointment on my schedule and actually stick to the appointment, which is something that never happens when I have to go to the Genius Bar. I always show up on time or a few minutes early because I was taught that to be on time is to be early. And then I end up waiting around for 10 or 15 minutes while they help other people because, you know, it's very hard to judge when exactly or how to time those Genius Bar appointments. So this was very different for me, and I liked it a lot more.
Awesome. And Allie, you, I know Georgia did hers, but you went for a second try where people could actually turn on the watches. Is that true?
I did. We went to the Michigan App Store in Chicago right the day after pre-orders that Saturday, and I don't think the employees knew that they could turn on demo loops, so all of the units were dead. So last week on the podcast, for anyone that didn't listen to that one, I was like, I wish you could have turned them on, and everyone else was like, what do you mean you couldn't turn them on? And we tried, and the employee was like, oh no, they're just for show. You can't actually turn them on. And I'm like, oh, well, that kind of sucks, because I would like to see what the Taptic feels like. So I went back for that reason and because I wanted to get some more photos for us. So
you did a do-over.
I did. The poor guy, and I wanted to try specifically the sport bands with the stainless ones, which I'll post pictures of today. The poor guy that looked at my favorites when I got in the store was probably like, is this the most indecisive person on the planet? Because I literally had favorited like every steel band and then all of the sports in gray, and he was probably like, this is not going to be fun. But they were great, and yeah, so I'll post some pictures later of a lot of people were asking about stainless bands on the Sport Face, so...
I have to take it back. I assumed that Georgia's try-ons were going to be a disaster because I've been at restaurants and I've been at Starbucks with Georgia, and she is like someone out of the movies that makes people in service industries cry because she just has very specific, very outlandish demands. And I thought it would be like, I want to try this band, but with this case, but on the left side I want a Milanese, and on the right side I want a link. It did not go at all like that, Georgia. I owe you a huge apology.
Well, I was really lucky. I tried on everything, actually. I tried the 42 millimeter, and I also tried the 38. The 42 millimeter, it dwarfs my wrist. It is almost larger than my wrist. I have a childlike size wrist. So I'm happy. Yeah, really, really minute. So for me, the 38 is the right size for me, and so I'm happy I tried it on because that's what I had ordered. And I thought that the experience was great. The woman that was there that was helping us, she could only take 2 watches out at a time, so that did take a little bit longer than what I'd expected because I was like, this will be quick, but I want to test out.
Georgia wanted to reach down in the drawer and start throwing watches behind
Yeah,
her.
I just wanted to throw them all. I wanted them all on my wrist at the same time, but that wasn't happening. I thought it would just be cute.
It's really hard when they pull that fancy drawer out just to not start grabbing for things, and you kind of have to restrain yourself. I'm like, I want to try this one with this.
Right, I actually held my hands behind my back just to make sure that I wasn't going to touch it and then have all of the geniuses descend upon me.
Yeah.
So I thought that the sports band was really comfortable. It was a little bit slimier than what I'd expected, a little bit smoother. So I was like, oh, it's a little bit like a snake.
Well, it is dry. If people are getting the wrong impression, it's not
It's not actually wet. It's just so smooth that it leaves that list-like feeling to it, which I actually liked quite a lot. It wasn't a bad experience. It wasn't gross. I enjoyed it. And so I liked that because I got the sports band in white because I got the sports watch. And then I tried the classic buckle, which I was actually a little bit disappointed with because I found that the leather was more firm than what I had hoped for. It was actually quite a strong feeling to it. I liked the latching, though, and I thought it was
down?
good.
I don't wear leather buckles. Do they start hard and wear down, or if they're hard, do they stay
Usually,
hard forever?
well, I would usually purchase a soft leather buckle. I would never get a very hard buckle because I want something that's going to be comfortable on my wrist and soft and move with my wrist. You know, again, childlike wrists, right?
Gap kids love you.
See,
Right.
and I didn't think they felt hard. I thought they were thin and kind of, I liked them.
Are you talking about the modern buckle or the classic buckle? Because they completely felt different to me.
Not the loop, the classic buckle, I think, is...
The modern one is the one that magnets
was really
together.
thick, and the modern buckle
not
was
the
really thin
magnet,
and much
the
softer.
classic.
Right. So the modern buckle I found was much softer, and I enjoyed the feel to it better. It was, it moved much more easily on my wrist, and I love the fact of the way that you could change the modern buckle. You just pop it out, and then you just slide around to the different sizes. and it clasps on really simply, and it felt really nice. So I liked
sorry,
that.
can I ask everyone a question? Because you raised it. What do you guys feel in general about the modern buckle being only for the 38 and the leather loop being only for the 42? Because I would kind of like to have them for both.
Yeah, I would kind of agree there. Well, it's modern. The modern
leather
buckle
loop is like stretch pants for wrists. Let's
The
be.
leather loop is the corrugated one that has the magnetic strip at the back that you can change the size to whatever you want.
That one I didn't like as much. I liked the modern one better.
Okay. See, I loved the leather loop, and I wanted that for myself. I would have bought one then and there if I could, but they don't have it in 38.
If I could get the leather loop as a choker, I would probably wear it.
What about the modern buckle, Peter? That's not a good choker?
Yeah, actually, that would be fine too. The Milanese would be an amazing choker.
You would wear a Milanese headband if you could.
Yeah, I'm glad I ordered the Milanese in addition to the...
That would work okay for me, actually. You know, a Milanese headband with a little flower on the side of it, like what they put on girls, like babies who don't have any hair.
You would look adorable. I'm sure there'll be a Photoshop of that soon coming up.
Let me just run this. So I ordered the black stainless steel with the black stainless steel link band. That's the only option. I got
such a handsome choice, by the way, Rene. I have to confess, that is just amazingly good looking.
I have the rare fortune, not so fortunate, but I don't have kids or anything else I need to spend money on ever, so I can just give it all back to Apple immediately.
Send it right to Papa.
They keep finding ways of taking it. And then I got a Milanese band and Milanese band, a leather loop and a sport, just so we have like a variety of stuff to review. I use that as an excuse because I'm going to be reviewing it all.
See, that's the only reason that I would have wanted to get the 42 millimeter, so I could steal the bands. That
you steal my bands,
right?
Nice. But we did see, like, for example, they had a show at Milan. Well, we saw a couple things. Karl Lagerfeld, the designer, he got a gold link bracelet, which some people have said must cost, 20, 30 grand all on its own, and looks like not a one-off from Apple, but the first time they've actually shown off that band because they didn't announce it. And then Johnny Ive and Phil Schiller were in the Milan fashion show, and they showed off a bunch of extra sport bands, including Canary Yellow, and it would look like Product Red, and a bunch of beiges and other tones. So obviously, this... The bands are going to be an ongoing story. Even if Apple doesn't rev the casings all the time, they can make a lot of extra bands, and so can third parties. So we're not going to. I'm sure someone's going to make you your stretchy band for the 38, Georgia.
I'm waiting. I'm waiting and dying. I thought that the only thing I thought about the Milanese was that I didn't like the fact that it looped on the edge. When it folds back over, it's quite thick, and it leaves my watch slightly unbalanced, and that bothered me.
The thing I'm curious about with the Milanese is long term, like how it's going to wear and whether or not the magnetic effect is going to fade over time. Is it going to slack? Is it going to loosen up at all? I don't know enough about the composition.
I don't think it should.
Not for the magnetic part, but I wonder about the wear. I think that's a really good point because, I don't know what the properties are in a lot of the different jewelry that I have that is not like straight up silver.
What I like about it is that it's stainless because I'm very reactive to silver and anything that might have nickel in it. So anything stainless for me is good. Like the necklace that I'm wearing right now is stainless. The posts on my earrings are stainless because I don't have problems with that. I do have problems with a lot of other metals. So that was the other thing that really attracted me to the Milanese.
Do you have any? Because I know both you and Greg Koenig from Luma Labs were dashing my dreams about chipping on the black stainless steel watch. But do you have any sense yet of durability for these materials?
Yeah, well, with my experience with Apple Metals is Apple does a really nice job with clear coats. They've done it all the way going back to the iPod Nanos when they first colored those. And even Apple's plain silver aluminum products that they produce, they all have a clear coat on them, which prevents them from corroding, from rusting, from basically any environmental hazards. So if you slide your laptop across a table, or something like that, or your phone, it prevents like little surface scratches. I mean, obviously, if you take a key to something, you're going to be able to scratch the coating away. I'm somewhat skeptical because this space gray version goes back to almost Apple's original iPhone 5 color. And they had issues with that. Just from what I know of anodizing, black takes a lot longer. I don't know at the scale that Apple produces these things if they can afford that kind of time to make that coating as thick as it should be.
So there's
So
two,
I
right?
guess
There's
time will tell.
the aluminum one is anodized space gray, and the black one uses I'm going to get this wrong, so don't make fun of me, a diamond-like coating of carbon.
Yes, because stainless steel, I'm pretty sure, cannot be anodized. That's a process for aluminum. So that would be a carbon coating. Yes, that one I'm thinking will probably hold up a little better. I don't know much about stainless and metal from that aspect. I know more about aluminum, and I do have some hesitancy about whether the aluminum versions will chip. I think the stainless should hold up pretty well, but
So Greg and Gruber were talking on Twitter about this, and a couple other people chimed in because they were talking about seeing some wear already on the Apple Watch demo stainless steel link bracelets, and all the watch people go, yeah, of course, that's what happens with a watch. Every one of my bands looks like that. But technology people who aren't watch people are going to see that and freak out because we're used to keeping our iPhone scratchless for a year or more.
I don't know a single person who, unless they encase their iPhone in an OtterBox or a LifeProof case the second they get it, has an actual iPhone that is flawless. I mean, come on, guys. That is an extraordinary minority. Yeah, okay, but you're an
I'm looking at my phone now. I'm like, I think mine is pretty flawless.
I've got a scratch on my screen. I've got a chip
on your screen?
I've got a chip on the side where I dropped it.
Absolutely. And
I have a case on this right now because I was obligated to buy Sheebs when I saw them. But normally, I never ever have a case on my phone, and I don't think any iPhone I've ever had has ever had a scratch on it.
I think my phone looks pretty good. I think my phone looks pretty good, but I do use the Apple case. But
I don't trust anybody who wears corrective vision to tell me that their iPhone doesn't have any scratches on it, Allie. I'm sorry.
Believe me, Peter. If there was a scratch on my phone, I would know, with or without glasses.
Anyone
and
with
to be fair, I only wear glasses on my computer.
My whole
on the computer.
My whole point is, for the vast majority of us, there are going to be some scratches and blemishes, just like there are dings. There are shopping cart dings on your brand new car within about 2 weeks of getting it.
No, that would piss me off. She's not gonna lie.
Until Apple invents the
adamantium.
Yeah, exactly, or some kind of shield like in Star Trek. I think we're kind of doomed.
Captain America
I could
shield.
never buy an Apple car. I would be a walking panic attack.
It's anodized, Allie.
Well, people have to think that this is something that we're going to be wearing on our wrists. It's going to be knocked around at all times. If you didn't get Apple Care, go get Apple Care.
So
you're going to have to. It's just that's what happens to watches. They get knocked around.
Can't wait for the Apple Watch cases to start surfacing.
The LifeProof case for your Apple Watch.
That's so many levels of wrong, Allie.
I need you to put on your therapist hat for a few minutes.
Okay.
Because we have you here, we might as well use you. So there is angst, there is concern, there is stress, there is anxiety in the Apple community because, like you, some people are expecting their Apple Watches to be delivered on the 24th, and they haven't gotten any shipment notifications yet. Other people have been given shipment dates of May to June, and they keep asking, is there any way that Apple's just lying so that we're not expecting them so early, but they're really going to ship them sooner? And we have other people who are going, what is this? Apple said the 24th, and I'm not getting mine until May or June. This is BS. This is total fraud. How do we address all this Apple Watch anxiety?
Calm down.
This is just like the holidays, right? So when you're waiting for your gifts in the holidays, it seems like time slows down as the time gets closer and closer, and you're waiting for every moment. Odds are, even if my due date is April 24th, I know I'm probably not going to get it on April 24th. It hurts me to say that because I want to be one of the first people. Don't look at me, Rene.
Mine's coming at the end of May, you jerk.
Yeah. And so I'm waiting desperately, but you have to know that shipping is a fickle thing, and they have to get the watches out and make sure that everything's ready, and so everything's probably going to be pushed back a little bit. So if whatever your date is, expect it to be 1 to 2 weeks later, and then you don't have to worry about it. But we might as well say it right now. There's probably going to be a delay in shipping for almost everyone. And yeah, you can hate on the people that get it early. That's the fun part of everything. You can then send out angry tweets.
Nice. Peter, you've been through this for years with Apple products. There are some times where Apple comes out on stage and they said it's available today, and you can go and like WWDC. We've seen lineups every day at WWDC because the stuff has come right out immediately after the keynote. But in this case, with the MacBook, and you wrote about this today with the MacBook and with the watch, some people are saying that they're just harder to manufacture than even Apple anticipated, and the yield rates aren't up there. Other people are saying Apple wasn't sure of the product mix, so they were waiting a while to ship to see who would order which ones and in what combination. What's your take on this?
Well, as far as the watch is concerned, look, we're in untested waters. All you have to do is take a look at what the analysts are saying that Apple is going to sell on day one of the watch, and the numbers are wildly disparate. None of the ones that I trust are saying under 1 million, but beyond that, it's like, just pick a number out of a hat. And up until now, I mean, there have been successes in the in the wearable space, but nothing on the scale that Apple can produce. So we really don't know how many Apple is going to sell, or what the long-term success of this product is going to be. Apple's really got no baseline to work with. So they're being cautious, obviously. They don't want to have a glut of product on day one, only to be stuck with that because they're not selling them. Although obviously
no one's buying salmon pink.
Right, exactly. I mean, look, it took them a while to get the iPhone 5C, color mix right. It took them, and compared to that, this is crazy with all the number of different bands and the number of different watch.
And there were gold shortages for the iPhone 5S.
5S, right, exactly. So, you got to cut Apple a break here. I'm a little less sympathetic to it on the MacBook end. I was really surprised when I walked into the Boylston Street store last week, although I knew, I was still disappointed when I walked in and started asking them questions about the MacBook. And they were like, yeah, well, whatever it takes for you to order it online is what it's going to take. I realized that that's exactly the party line that they were given, because we had read that memo from Angela Ahrens last week as well. But, from my perspective, I am less sympathetic to it because we all know what a MacBook is, and Apple's got to have a clear idea of how many it can sell. So it's just a question of getting manufacturing up to speed. And if there was a lot of new technology under the hood here, I might be able to understand why. But I mean, the Force Touch trackpad ain't that special. It's something that they're putting in the MacBook Pro, the 13-inch MacBook Pro as well, and they're not having any problems with manufacturing on that thing. You can walk into a store and buy one anytime. So I'm of two minds. The Apple Watch, yes. The MacBook, no.
We're going to take a quick break so I can tell you about lynda.com. Lynda.com is the online learning platform with over 3,000 on-demand video courses to help you strengthen your business, technology, and creative skills. For a free 10-day trial, visit lynda.com/iMore. That's lynda.com/iMore. So lynda.com, it's for problem solvers, for the curious, for people who want to make things happen. Maybe you want to master a new piece of software or learn about development or, even negotiation tactics, build a website, boost your Photoshop skills. Almost anything that you want to learn, you can very close to literally plug right into the lynda.com matrix and just pick up that new skill. Here's some courses that they're recommending. Excel 2013 Power Shortcuts, Weekly Office Workshop, Going Paperless Start to Finish, iPhone and iPad Security Fundamentals, Growth Hacking Fundamentals, and more. The thing I love so much about lynda.com is they really know how to stage things. You can take an entire course if that's what you want to do, and you can go through it either a little bit at a time or a lot at a time. But you can also, if you have a question, you can just go there and everything is indexed and everything is set up so nicely that you can just find that question, get expert instruction on how to answer that question, and just do it. So even if you know software, but you don't know all the ins and outs of it, or there's some features that you've never bothered to learn or something new that you suddenly need, you can just go there. You can go to lynda.com, you can ask your question, you can get an answer to it, and it's phenomenal. And they're adding new courses all the time. Just as soon as software comes out, they've almost day and date, sometimes within days, within weeks, certainly they have instruction on that available, and from the absolute best people in the world. So you can watch and learn from top experts. You can stream thousands of video courses on demand. You can learn at your own pace. You can browse each course's transcript and follow along. You can search for answers, skip to that point in the video. You can take notes as you go, refer to them later. You can download tutorials and watch them on the go, including on your iPhone, your iPad, your Android, and you can create and save playlists for courses you want to watch. So you can customize your learning, and you can share those with your friends, with your colleagues. I know some companies they just have lynda.com. It's one of the things that they offer. And that's a great way to just sort of increase the entire value of the organization. It's phenomenal. It's like having a tiny little university right inside your company. So again, here's what I want you to do. Your membership at lynda.com will give you unlimited access to the training for hundreds of topics, and it's all one flat rate. But if you want to try it first, if you want to see the kind of value that it can give you, whether you're looking to become an industry expert, you're passionate about a hobby, or you just want to learn something new, I want you to go to lynda.com/imore and sign up for the free 10-day trial. That's it, 10 days. You got to try it. All videos, all for free. That's lynda.com/imore. lynda.com/imore. Thanks, Linda. Nice. Georgia, you had a chance to. So Georgia, the minute Georgia saw my MacBook, she took it from me. She went down on the ground. She was determined to prove that it was a lie. That it was. And she ended up actually locking me out of File Vault with all her finicky.
That's true. That's true. I did do that.
So, Georgia, my theory about the MacBook is that if it were any thinner, you would actually be typing inside the desktop surface.
Right. Right. No, for me it was just experiencing the trackpad, and I'm like, it's actually mechanical. Rene and I were having a huge debate on what equals mechanical versus was it just a vibration. I think that we ended up with it is mechanical. Which
no mechanical
it does actually move down. No, I'm just saying it does move down, and it's not capacitive.
It is capacitive for the it's not the clicking. So there's a pressure sensor and there's a capacitive sensor, but there's no button click, there's no mechanical lever click thing like there is on the old trackpads.
Right, right. Which it's an amazing experience. Turning it off and then turning it back on, it is really, really cool. If you've never tried it out, you should head down to the Apple Store and test it out for yourself, because it does feel really great. And I love the keyboard. I thought that the keyboard was wonderful. It was a really nice experience.
I loved it too.
I know. I have small hands though, so for me it's not a big deal, but I really enjoyed experiencing it. It felt great. It made me so sad because, here I am staring at my new MacBook Air, and I'm like,
yeah, we put it on top of our 11-inch
pretty.
MacBook Air, and it's actually smaller. It's
smaller
got a
and
bigger
lighter.
Screen. Yeah, it's smaller. Did you try the keyboard, Peter?
Yes, I did.
What'd you think?
My experience was that I wasn't getting my finger placement right, and I tend to be very picky about keyboards. I'm a mechanical keyboard junkie. Mm-hmm. So I had trouble adapting to it in the short time I had to demo it in the Apple Store. I feel like I would have adapted to it within about an hour or two of actually using it. But what I did notice is that when I got back and started writing down notes on my MacBook Pro, it felt like I was walking on the uneven planks of like a warped ship deck.
It's loosey-goosey after you go back.
It really is. It was upsetting to me. I'm like, I need a mechanical keyboard now! So yeah, I could definitely get used to that MacBook keyboard without too much of a problem. I mean, I thought the 11-inch MacBook Air was cramped when I first got it, but I adapted to that within the first session. By the time the hour had gone by, I think that I'd started using it. I was fine with it, so I didn't figure that the MacBook would be any more of a learning curve.
What about you, Ali? Did you try the 12-inch yet?
I did. I tried it just briefly in store, so I don't think I used it long enough to really get an idea of how I'd feel typing on it. I don't know. I tend to like quieter keyboards, so I think I would probably like it better than current ones.
So I have to say that I've been watching Twitter, and I've been watching a lot of nerds get their MacBooks, and it's kind of broken my heart because all they do is complain about the lack of ports, and then I see these horrible pictures where they have 19 adapters plugged in together, and all they do, and and I love you to death, my techie friends, but this is not what that laptop is for. It's like, it reminds me a little bit about people who wanted to try to use an iPad to drive a battleship. It's like Apple has a MacBook Pro and they have a MacBook Air, and I understand there's wonderful technology in this MacBook, but its use case really is similar to an iPad. It's a computer you can grab and go and use everywhere in small spaces, light to carry with you. It's not meant to be a MacBook Pro replacement, and all those little dongles it looks sad to me.
Rene, I've got a question for you, by the way, because you've already flown with the MacBook.
Yeah.
How is it to use in a coach seat? compared to the other laptops you've used?
So it's very dramatically. On Air Canada, it was fine. I had lots of space, lots of room. I could use it very easily. United didn't assign me a seat, and then I ended up in the very back row. And their tray tables were like this wide, and there was literally my knees. And I'm not a tall person. I'm Canadian. I'm short because it's closer to the thermal source of heat from the Earth. And my knees were touching the back of the seat, and it was the only laptop I've ever been able to use, but I still had to keep my shoulders like this because of the people next to me. So it's workable, but I think in that situation I would still use an iPad more than the MacBook.
So basically the moral of that story is don't fly United?
Don't fly United in the back of a
Unless
regional
you want
jet.
deep flight thrombosis, or...
But like on Air Canada, it was in Air Canada and Coach, it was fantastic.
I will tell you, you posted that picture of your MacBook in the back of the...
Yes.
With the magazines, and Heather was like, I hope he brought Clorox wipes.
I don't believe in I don't want to create super germs, Allie. So
Right.
like, if my immune system can overcome an airplane.
I know.
But I put it in the in the pocket in the back of the chair, and it was lost amid the magazines. Like it made the magazines look thick and heavy.
That would just scare me, that I would be worried that I would forget it there
Yes.
with the magazines, and someone that was pulling out a magazine gets this great surprise.
I've forgotten things in there, and I mean, I always remember them, but it's right when I get off the plane, and then you have to stand there and wait for every person to get off, so then you can go back and hope it's still there.
Well,
I never forgot my laptop, but
That's happened countless times with iPads. People have left their iPads in the magazine pockets.
I think, Rene, though, you brought up a really good point about people being so angry about the MacBook. I think that what it comes down to, yes, definitely, when you make the most beautiful of the MacBook something that it will be for the least techie of people, people are going to be angry. It is beautiful. I wish that there were more ports. I really do, because it's so stunning, and I have to wait.
Well, you use your MacBook. You use your 11-inch for podcasting, so you have needs.
I do. I have needs. I want it. I would love to have the most stunning MacBook that I can then use as my one MacBook to rule them all. So, and that makes it difficult.
That's kind of how I felt like after the launch, like when I first saw it, when I was like shiny, and then they turned it on like one port, not for me.
Yeah,
it's not that it's not a good machine, it's just I'm going to have to wait for a lot of that to come. And I think Derek might have posted something that day saying Apple's new MacBook is great, but it's not for me.
Yeah.
But I think his main reasons were, this is a great laptop. It's for consumers, not prosumers that, need power and Lightroom and Photoshop and need to render video. You're going to have to wait a while for that to come to a form factor anywhere near that small.
Both George and I had the first edition MacBook Air, and I survived with that machine. There was only twice in the 2 years, I think, that I had it. One was when I had to do MacBreak live from a trade show, and I forget what the other time was, but there's only twice I really needed more than that one USB port. And I feel like if I bought, because right now I have an Apple loaner for the MacBook, if I bought one, I would be using it as almost like an iPad Air replacement, not a MacBook replacement.
Yeah, but the thing is that was a long time ago, right? I wasn't podcasting then. I didn't have as many use case scenarios that I would need as I would now. And so I would definitely get it in a heartbeat, because I don't do anything that takes a lot of processing power, and I don't mind waiting, and I would love to have a stunning MacBook. I just need, give me 2 points. I hate dongles. They just, they're so annoying. I have to carry them around.
Even the name is horrible.
Pardon me?
Even the name is horrible.
It is. It sounds rude. It sounds wrong. And so I just need 2. I'm not asking for a ton of them. Just give me 2 ports.
All right.
Why though?
I still feel like I need a camera card too. I need an SD slot.
So the only really, and I don't want to call it legitimate, because a lot of the complaints are legitimate depending on your use case. But one of the things that I've heard is when you run Migration Assistant to transfer over USB-C, or if you use an Ethernet adapter or whatever, you can't charge while you're doing that. And some of these migrations are lengthy, and they don't even show you a battery indicator, so you can't tell how far along you are in the process. So I think right now Apple has a bunch of adapters, including a VGA and an HDMI adapter, that have separate USB-C and the video out. But as far as I know, the USB-A adapter is only USB-C to USB-A. There's no separate USB-C. And I think some cases it would behoove them to have a breakout so you can power it while you're transferring stuff too.
Allie, as far as the SD card is concerned, I would point out that the MacBook Air 11-inch model doesn't have an SD card either. So that's something that Apple has excised out of anything that's not a 13-inch or bigger.
Yeah, and see, that's why I went with it. Well, minus my eyes, I went with the 13-inch because it has one.
Laptop, and Tim Cook clearly articulated that that their philosophy with the MacBook is that most people are content with cloud services, and the assumption is if you're taking photos, you're probably doing it on an iPhone or something anyway, and it's going straight up to iCloud.
If only my Nikon could do that reliably.
Have you tried
Wi-Fi wireless adapters? What?
You tried an iFi card? That's what I've been using lately. I don't like it. Doesn't give me raw.
Yeah, they're not very reliable for me. At least they haven't been.
I just find they're horrible. Their software horrible, but the process.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're almost there with the DSLRs, but not quite. And DSLRs, as far as I'm concerned, are kind of an edge case because so many people are taking so many millions of photos with their iPhones.
Yeah. For me, I just, I figure I'll stick with what I need for now, and then when Apple, when cloud services or things get more reliable, then, it's for me.
But I guess that's my whole point with the MacBook is that it's not an edge case machine. It's not a machine designed for people who are power users. And, I've said over and over and over again, ever since the MacBook was announced, that if you don't like the CPU speed or the integrated graphics or the battery life or the USB-C connector or whatever, this machine is not for you. It's a good thing that Apple, it's a shame. It's a shame that Apple has discontinued every other Mac except for the MacBook, and they are forcing you at gunpoint to buy this.
I thought it was bad.
Shame on you, Apple. Shame.
They came to your house and took your old MacBook and broke it as well, which I thought was uncalled for.
Thanks for nothing, Obama. It's ridiculous. I mean, Apple makes different products for different people. Be happy.
There's one thing that I was talking to Peter about this earlier. The Verge posted their test showing the difference in battery life if you run Chrome versus Safari, and I think it was something like 2 hours. You get 11 hours of battery life with Safari and 9 hours with Chrome or something. I use Chrome as a jail for Flash and for Google Docs because I don't want them running in another environment. Like I don't want to have Flash installed on Safari. But I was surprised at the difference. And Dom from 9 to 5 Mac actually tweeted a screen where you see a warning from Apple saying Chrome is making your MacBook too hot. Consider turning it off. And Peter, we were talking about this earlier. I find this fascinating. I'm not a huge Chrome user. I know a lot of people are, but I like stuff like this. I like battery shaming. I like heat shaming because I think eventually it will lead to better software for us.
I'm inclined to agree with you. I think that Gruber kind of nailed it when he said, this is probably the difference between having a thoroughly platform-optimized browser like Safari compared to something that has to, by its very nature, work on multiple platforms like Chrome. The problem as I see it is that there isn't a one-size-fits-all browser for all of us. Many of us can get away with using Safari all day long without any problem and be happy with that. But Safari doesn't always work for me. There are websites that I depend on, but websites that I do a lot of e-commerce through, like the website that I refill my family's pill prescriptions on, doesn't work right in Safari, and no matter how many times I file complaints with their customer service department, they never fix it. So I have to use Firefox or Chrome with that. I like to use Chrome because Chrome sandboxes Adobe Flash, so I know I'm not going to get any security problems if I'm using Chrome. But Chrome does heat up my 15-inch MacBook Pro a tremendous amount when I'm using it, especially when I'm using it for Flash content. Now, Safari also heats up, but not as much as Chrome does, so it doesn't wear down the batteries as fast. But, this is what's going to happen. I don't think that that's a fault of Apple's, though, and I certainly don't even think it's the fault of Google's, or of the Firefox developers. It just is what it is. Different applications are going to have different performance characteristics when you're using them.
And different priorities, like you said, cross-platform versus platform-specific.
Exactly.
What do you use these days, George? Is still Safari?
I use almost exclusively Safari. Love it. It works for almost everything. And every once in a while, there's some podcasts that I'm going to have to hook up to Chrome in order to get some extra extensions that will work properly. But I would say like 98% of the time, I'm only on Safari.
What about you, Allie?
Probably up until Yosemite, I used Chrome more than I used Safari. On my iMac. On my MacBook Air, same thing. On laptops, I feel like it eats through power way too fast on my Mac. I don't really care. Yeah, just now pretty much edge cases where I go to a website and it renders funny in Safari or whatnot. Do I ever launch Chrome?
Yeah, no, I do the exact same thing, and I think that's just like you use the platform-specific benefit if you have it. If you need something cross-platform, use that too. I use Chrome on Windows because IE was not my favorite browser for a long time. All right, so we're going to keep it short this week because we have a lot to go through. We'll probably be back. I don't know if Wednesday because I'm on a plane, but we'll probably be back later in the week. If not, we'll have to do Monday again. And I apologize to everyone for moving the schedule around so much. It's just we've been traveling. Georgia, you did the keynote at NS North. How did that go?
It was amazing. It was so much fun. I loved NS North. I got to travel down to the Chateau Montebello. Everyone that I got to meet was so, like, some of the nicest people. And, yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was on the fears that we have. And
I heard a rumor that you gave people Dungeons and Dragons sheets to fill out about themselves.
I did. I gave everyone Dungeons and Dragons sheets, and then you went through all the different fears that you might have and how they stop you from living the life that you deserve to live, which I thought was really fun. Just because, you know, what's a better stat to make than your own?
Nice. And Krista Mergen was there, and Ashley was there, and a bunch of awesome people.
Yeah, it was just some of the neatest women and just some really cool, sweet people.
Awesome. And Peter, you were at, was it Mac IT?
Last week was Mac Tech Pro.
Mac Tech Pro. How did that go?
Went really well. It was a one-day course with some stuff ahead of time that was like a Microsoft certification thing, but most of us were there for the one-day thing on Wednesday, traveling to different cities around the country. So check MacTech or pro.mactech.com if you're interested in details. But you know, basically, they get IT professionals and consultants in each different area to give talks on what's important. And there was everything in Boston from security to you know, trying to make the most of your consultancy. It was really interesting stuff. Really good group of people, and you know, I think any time that you actually network with other humans, it's a good thing.
And Serenity couldn't join us today because she is busy driving to Yosemite, where she's going to be at the Yosemite conference. I think it's part of CocoConf with Guy English and Matt Drance and Jim Dalrymple and Jason Snell and a bunch of other of our friends. So if you haven't checked that out yet, please do. Serenity's talking. I'm not sure what day or time her talk is, but when we find out, we'll let everyone know. In the meantime, we will do another show as soon as we possibly can. I want to thank everyone for listening, everyone for subscribing, everyone for rating and reviewing the show. It means a ton for us. And I want to once again thank lynda.com. Your lynda.com membership will give you unlimited access to training on hundreds of topics, all for one flat rate. Whether you're looking to become an industry expert, you're passionate about a hobby, or you just want to learn something new, I want you to visit lynda.com/iMore and sign up for your free, I want to say that again, free 10-day trial. That's more than a week. That's lynda.com/iMore. lynda.com/iMore. Thanks, Lynda. Allie, if people want to find more of you, more of your awesome work, where can they go?
I am at iMuggle on all the social things, Facebook, or not Facebook, I guess, Twitter, Instagram, all those things.
You couldn't get iMuggle on Facebook?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I don't know. I don't know if I ever tried.
Oh.
Nobody better take it.
No
now.
squatters.
Right, yeah, hurry up. Take it now.
I'll pay you. I will not pay you. I don't want it that bad. And then at iMore every day.
Awesome. Georgia, what about you? Where are you these days?
You can see me on the Isometric podcast here, and on Twitter it's at Georgia_Dow, and no, I don't Facebook.
And Isometric is on Relay FM now.
We are, yeah.
Nice. Mike Hurley, I've heard of him. And Stephen Hackett, all those good people. What about you, Peter? Where are you these days?
I'm on all the social things at Flarg, Flargh, and
is the H important?
The H is important, Rene. I know, maybe not in French Canada, but you know, the rest of the world it's important. And of course at imore.com every day.
Awesome.
Now, I will somewhat argue that Georgia doesn't Facebook because I really don't believe it's Rene that kicks my butt in Candy Crush.
Oh, you're right. Oh God, you called me out, Allie. Okay, so I'll mention my shame. So there's some levels that are easier to pass on the computer instead, and so I have to play that through Facebook. And so just recently, I'm like, I call Rene. I'm like, Rene, I hate myself, but can you give me your login information? I have to get past this level of Candy Crush online.
It's always so awkward when I see Rene beat me at a certain level, and I'm like, this is so weird because I know Rene does not crush candy, so that has to be Georgia.
If you're getting spammed from Rene's account with like Candy Crush lives or like tickets, it's also me because I'm like, they might need it, so I'm like handing it out. So yeah, you're absolutely right, Allie. That is I sometimes Facebook, but I hate myself a little bit more every time I do.
So do we all, Georgia. So do we. No, I'm just. You're more than welcome to crush as many people's candies as humanly possible. Yeah. Once again, thank you, everybody. We will be back later in the week. Have a great rest of your week. Thanks, Peter. Thanks, Allie. Thanks, Georgia.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye, everybody.